all of the women who've helped shape me, build me, teach me, the women that I've learned from in my life have just been so cool, like so awesome. And not just on like what they've accomplished, but just who they are. They're strong, they're intelligent, they're powerful just by being themselves and just being here.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Women Are So Fucking Cool. I am your host, Joanne Morton, and today we have a very special episode. In the podcast, the typical episode, I asked the women to share some of the women in their life that they think are fucking cool women. It's a lot of fun to talk about women that you think are cool and you learn new things and there's so many of them, right? So who do we talk about? But I've been fascinated that some of the women mentioned their mothers. And of course, fucking cool women are moms. And on Mother's Day, I thought it'd be really fun to have a chance to just listen some of the little snippets from these previous episodes. And I also wanted to just do a little disclaimer, a little, little shout out to those of us or those of you who do not have strong relationships with your mother. Your mother wasn't a fucking cool woman, and you deal with a lot of just inner sadness and ugh, right? It's my heart goes to you, and I want us all to remember that as fucking cool women, we also are able to heal that um, loss of not having that mother through being our mothers to ourselves and then having relationships with women who are able to comfort us and give us some insight that a mother can do. I have a pseudo complicated relationship with my mother. My mother died a couple years ago. She made the transition in 2019. And although she was instrumental in giving me some insight on who I was as a young woman and being pro choice, things changed in her life. And so the political differences sort of made it a little strange when we got together. But that said, she was a fucking cool mom. She she liked to sew. She made some really fun games growing up. She had a good imagination. She made good cookies, good whoopie pies. She let us be kids growing up and play. And she also raised three very independent thinking feminists who are really amazing. My sisters and she did a good job raising us, or we did a good job raising ourselves, but it was, it's like it's interesting how we all turn out. And I just want us to remember that, mothers are not perfect and they are just human like the rest of us. And so when a woman can share that her mother was a fucking cool woman, we want to celebrate that. And I'm really grateful that I know so many fucking cool moms raising fucking cool girls and boys because that's what humanity needs, a lot more fucking cool people. So 8 women. I'm going to share their names. Rachel, Barbara Ann, Chelsea, Carol, Marjorie, Anne, Sapphire, and Sid. These fucking cool women. I'm so grateful that you shared your fucking cool mom on our podcast. So thanks again for watching or listening and stay in touch. You can follow us on all the social medias. And if you're interested in being on the podcast, reach out to me. And if you'd like to support the podcast, check out our Patreon. Okay, here we go. Let's hear about some fucking cool moms. Some of the women that you have experienced respect, encouragement, and celebration from.
Respect, encouragement, celebration. Right out the gate, the first woman that comes to mind is my own mother.
Nice.
She was exactly all those things and instilled all those things in me and many others.
Who do you think inspired you to know your fucking coolness?
In part, it was my mother. My mother, when my parents got married, it was still illegal. I'm biracial, and it was illegal in some states in this country. Yes, I'm that old. And her dad disowned her. Um, I wouldn't even meet him until I was 16. And she had four children. I was the oldest at age 7. I had a 5-year-old sister, a 2-year-old brother, and a 7-week-old sister. She was 28 years old, and my dad died in a car-related incident. And so here she was in the 70s, a widow at 28, with four children under the age of 7. And she would go on to go back to school, get her nursing degree, get her work herself all the way up to her master's, go back to become an assistant professor at the college where she had started, to get her associates or registered nurse. She would go and she would get into master's swimming. She would join the army right before she was too old to join as a nurse. So, when my nephew was born, we used to jokingly say that his grandmother really did wear combat shoes. Now, to get an idea, my mom's 5'3". My mom came from a privileged background that she then essentially turned her back on to make the choices that she made. And she signed up to do martial arts. And when she was raising my nephew, my sister really wasn't in a position to do that. She was in her 40s when she did that. And she is a 4th-degree black belt at the age of 77. And soon to be 70. Actually, I guess she'll be 28. This her birthday. So her birthday is coming up. So I'm 56, so she will be 78.
Wow.
And still trains. And so she is an incredibly fucking cool woman. She stood up to the church we were raised in when she was a swimmer, and she eventually walked away from that faith, as did a faith journey, but not that fundamentalist kind of repressive upbringing that I was brought up in. She eventually realized that that just wasn't for her either. She needed the support system until she didn't. She realized it was counterproductive. So kudos to my mom, Marilyn Gardenhire, who retired from the military, retired as an associate nursing professor, and actually is in the process of being appointed as a medical expert to her county in New Jersey, board of Board of Health.
Oh my God. I want to talk to her. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
She's
wow.
pretty awesome.
Oh, how wonderful. How wonderful.
Yeah.
With the work that you do, how do you navigate having to deal with, the non-FCWs versus, and how do you help, share and be a leader based on this?
It's a great question, and I get to meet so many powerful women. And the work that I do, I've worked in community and economic and business development, housing development, for 32 years. My first, I guess I worked through college, but my first job in community and economic development was to go to work for the city of Bridgeton in 1992. And I was in charge of helping them create a program. And the city of Bridgeton was 45% single female headed households. And it was only a city by concentration of population within square miles, very small part of southern New Jersey. And me being curious, I had this political science degree with concentrations in women's studies and thought I was going to be an attorney. Eventually decided that wasn't my thing, but at the time, that's what I was going to do. And I asked the question, hey, if we're trying to get businesses to bid on stuff from the city. Why are we advertising in a paper that no one here reads? It's my foray into the world that we would know then as affirmative action, which is a bad word now. But I realized that I had a passion, and I knew this. I had a passion for uplifting and being a voice and helping others that didn't have that platform. And I would spend my entire career, even to some extent when I was back in corporate, being the voice for those who couldn't, with the focus on women and minorities and other marginalized populations. Being one that's technically representative of all of the above. I am the walking intersection. I am a female, up and down, but otherwise of size, multiracial, on the LGBTQIA spectrum. Even though I'm married to a man, I'm everybody is a spectrum. I'm on that spectrum. You know, you name it. And it's also one of the reasons why I am so passionate about everyone living into whatever their vision of extraordinary is, because they were individually, depending on what they believe, made or created to be a perfect being, period, end of story. And along the way, so many people told them otherwise. And so everything that I do, that my company does, is about reminding people and helping people reconnect and reclaim. That's why I don't like the word empower, because empower is external. It means I'm giving you power. No, I'm helping you take back what you had from day
Tell me
one.
about your mom.
Oh my gosh, my mom is a friend to everyone. She knows no stranger. Could probably befriend a wall or a rock, honestly. She's loud, she's funny, she's cool, she's very intelligent.
What makes her fucking cool?
What makes her fucking cool? She
What
kinda
makes her a
just
fucking
knows
cool woman?
herself. She knows herself really well, and she knows herself in the world, and she makes sure other people know it as well. She's not going to let someone else tell her who she is.
Well, I have to tell you that it's genetic with me. My mother was a fucking cool woman. She was born in the 1920s. She went through part of the Depression and she went to college when no one in her family had ever gone to college. She wanted to be a doctor. She was told during the Second World War that she was taking a man's space. That was the environment in which she stepped out. Now, what did my mother do? She had a mind of her own. She was engaged to the president of a fraternity. And then she met my father. She gave back the ring. And what you have to understand is I am always amazed at my lineage because my father was a cool looking guy who had kind of a Cary Grant sort of a twinkle in his eye. And he was a high school dropout. So my mother, the UCLA graduate studying to go on to be a doctor, married a high school dropout. And I'm sure my grandparents must have been so excited because the first time he came over, he had just gotten out of the service and he was really nervous at meeting parents. So he had been drinking a little bit before he got there. And he drove into the rose bushes and parked in the middle of the rose garden. So just a minute. Now I'm a mom and I'm just imagining if this was my daughter, how excited would I be that my college graduate is introducing me to a high school dropout and he arrives drunk and drives through the rose garden. So that's was the beginning of how I got started, and I was the first child. But I always amazed. It's like, how did these two people ever come together? How and why? And it's taken me a long time of looking back that I kind of get it now. because my mother, her whole life, talked about what she had done, and many people thought she was a lifelong career woman. But in fact, she left her job at Children's Hospital when she was pregnant with me. So in my entire lifetime, I did not know her as a working woman. However, what I did see that my dad, who was the kind of guy that everybody would love to have at a party because he'd keep everybody laughing and engaged, what he did is, and excuse me, my apologies. My phone rang.
Uh-uh.
I will go back. But so my dad, who is always the center of every party and people love to be around, left to his own devices, I don't know that he would have accomplished much. But he did have my mom, who was letting him know, that he'd better deliver. He began working with General Motors. He then had an auto dealership of his own. And later on, after a bankruptcy, he went into insurance and sold insurance for automobile dealers. He found success in his life. And I think it was a little bit of the pushing of my mom. And because of the difference in my parents, my mother was taking it for granted that I would want to go to college, that this would be for all of her kids. And my dad said to me, I don't see why a woman should go to college. They just grow up and have kids. So what happened in me, having heard that, was just a sort of an, I'll show you, I'm going to do that. So I made sure that I got good grades. I was really very, very driven because I knew none of this was to be taken for granted. I was going to have to earn it, and I decided I was going to. So that was the part of being a fucking cool woman. And I'm the oldest of six. And on the wall behind me, this is a needlepoint that my mom did, but it's indicative of my philosophy to this day. It says, one ship sails east, one ship sails west. By the self same winds they blow. 'Tis the set of the sails and not the gales that determine where they go. I love this because it is something to remember. We have a lot of gales going on in our society and for women, but it's the set of the sails. It's what you have decided within yourself. It's what moves your heart. It's you living the life that you love. It's you finding your purpose. That will determine where you go, regardless. Regardless of the gales, set your sails. And now you probably have some idea why I call myself Life Change Navigator also, because that's what it's really about. And that picture is actually a boat that I learned to sail on underneath the Golden Gate. And your life is in your own hands.
My mom, if you want to get real, it's
Uh-huh.
like, wait a minute, that was, a cellular level.
Yeah.
Here's someone who had an MBA before the MBAs were popular, and worked at the Pentagon,
Oh.
and for Admiral Nimitz, for God's sakes, and just, and then became, a mom, and an incredible businesswoman, but then threw all that aside to raise us as a family,
Yeah.
but by choice.
Yeah.
So I was
And I
like,
told you about my mom, who is a fucking cool woman. My mom is phenomenal. She is the freest spirit I've ever known in my life. She danced to her own drum, her own music. She is 1000% herself. Every time you see my mom, you're going to get the same person. I don't care what arena that you're in, you're going to get, her name is Hurricane Burt. That's her stage name. My mom is a performer. She does lip singing. She's a bartender. She's college educated. She is the brightest and fucking coolest woman that I know. And then I have my aunt is Belle. And then I have another aunt, my Aunt Judy, who, again, this woman, you know what I loved about my Aunt Judy? Another woman who danced to her own drum, because she was kind of like the black sheep of the family because my aunt always wanted to travel. She didn't want to stay here in Savannah. She wanted to be free. And that's what she did. When she was a very young age, she ended up moving to Boston with this exchange family program. And she ended up traveling the world. And that was my inspiration to travel. But my aunt just carried herself so regally. She will always wear pearls. Every time I saw my aunt, she was dressed down to the T. And it was something about that, now that she's not here with us anymore, that is something that just really sticks and resonate with me and something that I want to embody as I carry myself through, this world that we're in, this plane, because my aunt, and I'm proud to say this, in the 60s and 70s, she had a nonprofit right here in Savannah called the Sunshine House. Her name is Judy Davis Stewart. And the Sunshine House was a center for girls in the community, and she taught them how to dance. She taught them etiquette. She taught them home. She taught them all these things. And so, in the city of Savannah, gave her a house for her to do this. And so, I could go on and on and
Was
on.
my mom. Now, my mom, and this is one of the things when I say my mom was really fucking cool. My mother went to summer camp and she was the oldest of four, and she didn't get to go to summer camp until her youngest brother, who I think was 8 or 10 years younger than she was at the age where he could be what they called midgies, where he could be like in, bunk 5 or something. And I think she went and she was a counselor in training. And there was a guy at summer camp with auburn hair and kind of a sexy hottie. And that was my dad. And he was the arts and crafts teacher because my father was a professional artist. And my mom had a crush on Willie Barrow. So this is in, I don't know, 1930 something. And she said, Willie Barrow, someday I'm going to marry you. And Willie Barrow looked at her and rolled his eyes and said, you got to be out of your mind. So I don't know what the years were. They went to different schools socioeconomically. They grew up differently. My father was first generation American. My mother was much more kind of middle class assimilated. And somehow my mom had this vision about marrying Willie Barrow. And her family said, are you out of your mind? You're going to marry an artist? Do you want to starve? Like, really, what are you thinking? And my mom saw his gift, his spirit, his heart, his soul. And she threw her hat in the ring and over the wall. And I really hadn't thought about it until now. My mom, at the heart of it, was really an entrepreneur. She managed, not only did she raise us and do everything, as a mom, and this is with kids in the 40s and 50s. And so not only is that kind of mom, she ran my father's business. So my dad was very much an artist and the heart and soul and spirit. And again, growing up in the Depression, being first generation American. And my mom ran the business. She did all the financial investing. She was involved in all of it. But when I look at who my mom was, she was a philanthropist and she was very involved in community organizations. And fast forward, when she was 92 years old, my husband and I moved her from Philadelphia to come live with us. And I took care of my mom from the time she was 92 till a few months shy of her 96th birthday. And every morning we would go into the bathroom and pick out her clothes. I'd pick things, or I'd have her look in her drawers, and we would get her clothing organized. She never would leave the house without her lipstick. It was always one of her things. A fucking cool woman never leaves the house without chapstick or lipstick. And when I think about what she was like at 95, and my mom and I as women were very, very, very different. And I'd say 99% of the time she would roll her eyes and she would look at me and see where where did I get you? Where did I find you? So it wasn't that I had this mom who said, you're the most fucking cold daughter on the planet. My mom grew up in the model. It's like, if I don't tell you the truth, then who will? There's like the standard joke. If you go to the ladies' room and you leave toilet paper on your shoe, Your good friends will tell you you're trailing toilet paper around
Yes.
with you. A stranger won't. So my mom was really amazing, but not in the status ways of amazement. And this is what Joanne and I were talking about, as women who are activists. Maybe a key aspect of activism is every single day, in every interaction, in all the choices that we make. And my mom, to me, was really the demonstration of that. And she was kind and loving. She had an unbelievably outrageous sense of humor that was kind of dry. And my dad, and this is where my mom, to me, was really amazing. My dad, as an artist and the man he was, my dad really got center stage 99% of the time. And that my mom wasn't disempowered by that.
Yeah.
Somehow, she knew the value. And I think that we as kids, if he didn't always acknowledge and appreciate her, my older brothers and I, and then as our family expanded, everybody showered her with love. So that again, she would know the fucking cool woman she was, even at 95 and a half.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hadn't really thought of, Joanne, I hadn't thought about my mom in this context before being with you in this
Oh,
conversation.
absolutely. So first, I have to start with my grandmother. I never knew her. She passed away before I was born. But just the way people talk about her and the pictures I see of her, like everything that I have on earth that's a remnant of her is full of joy, is full of beauty, is full of love, is full of empathy. So that just tells me what kind of woman she was. And then the kind of woman that my mother is just, it really puts into perspective like how being the kind of woman you are affects your entire lineage. That's your legacy. Because she comes from a powerful woman, and my mom is like one of the sweetest, kindest, super artistic. You think I'm artistic? I get like my mom is incredible. She's a painter, she's a poet. Like she does it all, and I wouldn't be here, of course, physically without her, but literally without her because she's allowed me the space and the time to figure myself out, to figure out what I would like to do. In a society where people are like, you have to survive, you have to survive, you can't live off art. And my mom was like, if you can make it work, go make it work, and I'll support you. And her mother did that to her as well. So that's the kind of lineage I come from, of like just cool women. And I have aunts who are also just as cool. They're always supporting, always like coming down for my performances and things like that. So my family alone is just like full of cool women. And